Welcome back to the Rollout. I'm Jeff Pratt. Joining me as always is Trent Henrich, back from the dead for this week's episode. Jay filled in quite nicely for you. We might have to make that a permanent replacement. Sorry, Trent, with the way you picked last week. Took a couple upsets, ended up hurting you. You went 6 for 14. I went 9 for 14. Jay also went 9 for 14, improving his record to statistically being much better than both of us, although it is a larger or a smaller sample size. That being said, all three of us made picks for the Thanksgiving games, which happened to just be two: Texans, Lions, and Washington football team against the Cowboys. I took the Texans and Cowboys. Trent did as well. Jay, I think you took the Texans and Washington football team. All right, so Jay's 2 for 2. I'm very happy about that. Just to touch upon those games really quickly, the Texans, they're much better than their record indicates. They have played an extremely tough schedule up to this point. They have losses to some of the NFL's best teams. But the last couple of weeks, they've been really good, or at least Deshaun Watson's been really good. That defense is still an unknown. I know Trent's been really high on Deshaun Watson. He's been playing like an MVP the last couple of weeks. And as of now, just recently, we heard that the Lions did, in fact, fire their GM and head coach, Matt Patricia, as well as Bob Quinn. So they'll be using their offensive coordinator as their interim head coach moving forward. I think that was a move everyone saw coming for a while now, especially after getting blown out by the Texans like that, after being pretty active this offseason and at the trade deadline to be a contender. And then the Washington football team and Cowboys game, Jay, you were spot on there. Washington, they looked really good, and the Cowboys just did not. So after that little mini spiel, we're going to get right into these Week 12 picks, starting with the Los Angeles Chargers coming off a dominant victory over the New York Jets, taking on the Buffalo Bills, who were on bye. Last game they played was a disappointing loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Trent, you were out last week, so I'll throw it to you first. Who are you taking in this one?
Yeah, glad to be back. Glad to have a voice again and be healthy. Very appreciative of that. Last week was rough, but we're turning that around this week, and we're going to start off with the Bills getting the win at home against the Chargers. I think the Chargers are still a very young team. They might get Eckler back this week, which would really help them in that offense to maybe close out some games. Don't think that's going to happen against the Bills, though. I think Josh Allen still has a lot of talent. Him and Stephon Diggs have really connected well this season. And I think the Bills just edged the Chargers out here. Like I said, Chargers can't close out games. I think the Bills can, so I'll take the Bills at home.
Fair enough. Jay, what about you?
Man, I'm going with the Chargers this week. The Bills had a bye, yes. The Chargers also had a bye. Playing the New York Jets, no, not really. But I think this is a shootout, and may the best quarterback on Sunday win, at least for this game. So, the Chargers, like the Texans, before the Texans won on Thursday, they were 3-7. Chargers are 3-7 right now. I think they're two teams that are better than their record indicates. And I think the Bills have to be careful not to drop this game. And I think it really comes down to who scores the most points, obviously. I mean, that's a given. But in this instance, I think it's just which quarterback outduels the other.
Fair enough. I'm going to go with the Bills here, too, although I think this one's going to be a shootout, like Jay said. I just think – I don't know. I think top to bottom, the Bills are a more complete team. Trent, touching upon how you said they can close games, we've obviously seen the Chargers being unable to do that so far this year. There's a reason that they're well below 500, and the Bills are first in the AFC East right now. And obviously the Dolphins dropped last week's game. We'll get to them later, but they had a real shot to make up ground last week, and they did not take advantage of it. So as of right now, Buffalo still holding on to first place in that division. I think that nothing will change after this game. I love Justin Herbert. Think he's going to be a much better quarterback than Josh Allen in his career. But as of right now, I'm going to take the more complete football team, roll with Buffalo. All right, moving on. We have a rematch of a game a couple weeks ago. Titans taking on the Colts in that last matchup. Indianapolis surprised a lot of people. They came out and dominated Tennessee, really were able to contain Derrick Henry on the ground. As we know, that is the key to victory against this Titans squad. However, they will be without quote-unquote workhorse Jonathan Taylor as put on the COVID/reserve list today. but I think they'll be just fine. They have Jordan Wilkins. They have Naheem Himes, who absolutely tore apart the Titans last time these two teams played. Both of them are in store for larger workloads. Jay, I'll throw this one to you first. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans here. I picked the Colts last week. Worked out well for me. I also picked the Titans last week. That worked out well for me. So I'm kind of, I'm struggling. I think these two teams are very good. But I don't know. This is probably going to be the third week in a row that Phillip Rivers airs it out, right? And, it's a matter of time before it doesn't work out. I don't know. And they're missing Jonathan Taylor. I think Derrick Henry probably has a better game against the Colts than he did last time around, even though he had a pretty good game. And I think A.J. Brown will have a better game than he did against the Colts last game because last time he caught one pass, right? Was it?
Like that, he had the really bad bobble he had taken to the end zone.
Right. But besides that, he had the catch, like a 15-yard catch in the first play of the game, and that was it or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he's going to get shut down like that twice in a row. So I'm going to roll with the Titans, but look, both these teams, if we could see whoever wins this game might end up winning the AFC South. This might be the game that decides that. Who knows? Obviously, this is the last chance for the Titans to even up that tiebreaker, so it's important for them. And for the Colts, obviously, this would put them in a great position to go on and win the division, which is something they haven't done in a while. At least, right? To my knowledge, the Titans have won the last couple of years at least.
Yeah, ever since Andrew Luck, that won the division.
Right. So, yeah, this is going to be a great game. Obviously, the Colts defense is far superior to the Titans defense, but I don't know. I'm just feeling like the Titans are going to win this game.
Fair enough. Trent, what say you?
Yeah, I'm going against Jay here as well. Last time the Colts faced off with the Titans, they dominated them. Really, they won by 17, and that was at Tennessee. Colts are home, coming off a big win against the Packers. In my opinion, I thought the Packers would have won that game pretty handedly. Kind of proved to me that the Colts defense is for real and kind of can stop any offense at this point in time. I mean, maybe not the Chiefs and the Bucks, but their defense is legit. I think they're definitely good enough to shut down the Titans this week. Phillip Rivers is a decent quarterback right now, and even with Jonathan Taylor out, like Jeff said, they still have Hines, they still have Wilkins. I see the Colts winning this game at home against the Titans, so I'm going to go with the Colts.
Yeah, Trent, I'm going to agree with you here. I think there are a couple of factors that kind of push this matchup in Indianapolis's favor. One is obviously, as you mentioned, they have an elite run defense, and that's what you need to stop the Titans. Because if you can't contain Derrick Henry, there's no way you can beat this Titans team. You have to get them off the field somehow. You have to make Ryan Tannehill throw. And I'll give him credit. He's been pretty solid again this year. But, A.J. Brown, Jay, you said you didn't think that he was going to have another bad game. Tannehill's actually been looking his way. The drops have been very concerning lately for him. I think that we all know how talented A.J. Brown is. If we can compare him to any receiver in the league right now, I think his counterpart, DK Metcalf, is similar. I think that they both play similar styles. They're big, powerful, speedy receivers with a lot of potential, but drops have been a problem for Brown this year. So I'm not sure that he's going to be able to overcome that this week. And then also that little interesting hurry up offense that the Colts run. It really gave the Titans defense problems last week. And Jadeveon Clowney, I believe he's still out this week. I'm not sure if anyone has that info. I'll look that up while we go into our next matchup. But if he is, they really don't have any threat to get to Rivers. Naheem Himes fits that system perfectly, especially the hurry up that they like to run. T.Y. Hilton hasn't been good this year, but Michael Pittman has really emerged as a dependable receiver for Phillip Rivers. And I just like the Colts again this week, so I'm going to roll with them. So as of now, Trent and I have been on the same page with the first two picks. Jay has been on the opposite page, and you know what? You've been better than us so far, so maybe you know something we don't. But we're going to get into this next matchup, which is the Carolina Panthers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Trent, I'll throw it to you first. Who are you taking?
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup, in my opinion. Vikings were disappointing last week. They lost to the Cowboys in a game I think the Vikings should have won. I don't think they should be losing to the Cowboys at this point in the season, but props to Andy Dalton, my guy. I mean, he put the team to a victory, so I can't really complain there. I'm going to go with the Teddy B revenge game. He's coming back. He's playing the Vikings, his old team where he got injured. I think that Teddy B is going to play this week. And if that's the case, and they may get Christian McCaffrey back, I'm not positive on that. I know Mike Davis has been playing well either way. But I'm going to go with the Panthers. They have a good wide receiver core. And the Vikings, I don't know if they're a legit team or not. I mean, they get these big wins and then they get bad losses. They're really hard to figure out. I think the Panthers are probably the safer pick here, and that's why I'm going to go with the Teddy B revenge win and go with the Carolina Panthers.
Fair enough. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm going with the Panthers too. Adam Thielen's a big loss for the Vikings. It kind of limits their options throwing the ball, obviously. I mean, they still have Justin Jefferson. They still can hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook 20-plus a game. But it allows the Carolina secondary to sort of, hone in on Justin Jefferson a little bit more than they would be able to with Adam Thielen on the field. That should help them out. And then, McCaffrey's not playing again this week, but I touched on it last week how the Panthers' offense can be really versatile when he's out because they spread the ball around a lot more. I don't know why the Panthers are such big underdogs here. I actually think they're a far better team. That doesn't always necessarily mean you get the win, though, if you're a better team. But I'm going to still roll with Carolina. They've just shown more on both sides of the ball more consistently than the Vikings, and you can't lose to the Cowboys right now. That's really hard for me to watch you lose a game to a team that's so awful on defense and with a backup quarterback, even though Andy Dalton was a long-time starter in this league. No hate on Andy Dalton. But, it doesn't really give me a lot of confidence in this team, even though this is kind of a must-win for them. I'm going with Carolina.
Yeah, continuing the trend that you guys started, I'm going to pick the Panthers this week as well. Trent, just to touch upon what you said, coming into last week's game, the Vikings were red hot. They won 3 straight games, including 2 impressive wins over the Packers and the Bears. And then they just completely disappeared against the Cowboys. And it was really disappointing to see because that was not necessarily a must-win game, but it was a really important game for them to win, to even up to 500, get back in the playoff hunt. Now, that's going to be really hard to do looking at the rest of their schedule. And Jay, you touched on Adam Thielen being out. That is obviously a huge loss for the Vikings. And honestly, Kirk Cousins has shown this year that he just cannot be trusted as a reliable quarterback to throw the ball. Obviously, they have the best running back in football right now in Dalvin Cook. Obviously, you could say Alvin Kamara is there right now this year too. They've both been fantastic. But Cook, in my opinion, talking about a running back, more traditional sense, he's been the guy this year. And this Panthers team, they're better against the run than they are against the pass. I'm not sure that says much because they're still not amazing against the run, but I think that they might be able to contain Dalvin Cook kind of at least this game and make Kirk Cousins beat them, and I just don't think that's going to happen. Trent, as you said, this is Teddy B's revenge game. He looked really good last week. Or what was it, him or PJ Walker? Was it Walker? Walker ended up getting the start. You're right. But regardless, he's looked good when he's played. And as you said, throwing the ball, spreading it out more. DJ Moore has really come into his own the last couple of weeks. It's really good to see, as Trent gave me a jersey for my birthday, signed DJ Moore jersey. Love to see that happen. Robbie Anderson's been a little bit more inconsistent, but what can you expect from a guy like Robbie Anderson? He was never going to stay as hot as he was at the beginning of the season. Curtis Samuel has really been the X factor for this team. He has come in, and I know a lot of people are going to say Mike Davis in Christian McCaffrey's absence, but Samuel the last couple of weeks has been just as important member of that offense as anyone else. And I think that that's going to continue this week against a subpar Vikings defense. Sorry for going on a little rant there, but I'm going to take the Panthers as well. All right. All 3 of us take Carolina in that game. Moving on, we have the Cleveland Browns taking on Trent's Jacksonville Jaguars, who will be without his guy, DJ Chark, this week, but they might be getting Gardner Minshew back. Trent, I'm going to throw this one to you first just to see what your take is on this one. Let's see it.
I want an asterisk for this game. If Gardner Minshew was playing, I want the Jaguars. I want the Jaguars if Gardner's playing. But that's not – it doesn't look like he's going to play, so I'll have to take the Browns. But if Gardner Minshew does start, I'm switching my pick and I'm taking the Jags. The Browns are a weird team because a lot of weeks they just disappear on offense and don't put up that many points. And even, I mean, I know Chark may be out, or he is going to be out this game, but the Jaguars have been weirdly competing with a lot of decent teams. And when they were playing the Packers 2 weeks ago, and it was coming down to the wire, it just didn't make sense. But this Jaguars offense has a lot of weapons, and James Robinson is a top 5 running back this year, in all honesty, at least in fantasy. He's been killing it. He's pretty consistent. I like this Jaguars team, and if Minshew starts, don't sleep on him. He'll be back, and he's going to be a good quarterback. I guess for now, I'm taking the Browns, but if Minshew starts, it's Jags. Lock it in.
Fair enough. Jay, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Cleveland here. I'm never confident when I'm picking the Browns, but I guess this is one of those. I was pretty confident when I picked them against the Eagles, I guess. And maybe the Eagles and the Jags are close, I guess, in some ways, in terms of how good they are at football this year. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Browns. There's not really that much analysis. The Browns are 1-9. I mean, the Jaguars are 1-9, and I think the Browns are the better team. Although we'll see, because even though the Browns have won the last couple weeks, they haven't necessarily won in convincing fashion.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm going to roll with Cleveland here, too. I think we've seen from the Browns that the way to beat them is to make Baker Mayfield throw the ball, because he is just extremely inconsistent and doesn't have a ton of weapons this year. Obviously, still has Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, Rashard Higgins, but it's Baker Mayfield. So those guys are basically nothing to him because we have no idea who's going to show up every week. Luckily for Cleveland, they just happen to have the best 1-2 punch in the NFL in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who have looked dynamic over the last 2 weeks when both have been healthy. And they've just proven week in, week out that if you have a subpar run defense, they're going to literally run the ball down your throat, keep the offense on the field, and find a way to win. And obviously their defense was surprisingly elite last week. I'm not banking on that to happen again, although if Gardner Minshew's under center, that just might happen. Sorry, Trent. But I'm taking Cleveland in this one. I think that both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt will combine for 175, 200 maybe rushing yards, or at least all-purpose yards in this one. They're going to pound the rock. I'm taking the Browns. All right, moving on. We have a matchup that on paper is absolutely disgusting, but I think is going to be pretty entertaining. It's the New York Giants taking on the Brandon Allen-led Cincinnati Bengals. You know, they threw Ryan Finley out last week after Joe Burrow, prayers up, by the way, suffered a really gruesome knee injury. Really hoping he can make a full recovery, be ready to go next year. But they threw Ryan Finley out there, and he was so bad that they decided, no chance you're getting the start for us again this week. They're rolling with the big gun, Brandon Allen. I'm personally not sure if he can keep this offense afloat. Gio Bernard, after suffering a concussion or entering a concussion protocol, at least earlier this week, is now trending in the right direction to play, which would be a big win for Cincinnati because this Giants defense, they've been pretty solid this year. My hat's off to Joe Judge, as Jay has said multiple times on this podcast earlier this year. But the run defense is the one weak area of their game. And they need Gio Bernard, Samaje Perine to attack it if they're going to win this one. All that being said, I'm rolling with the Giants in this one. I just think Daniel Jones is going to tear apart that Cincinnati defense, which is not something you'll hear me say often regarding Daniel Jones, but he's got the weapons to do so. Wayne Gallman will be getting the start. He's looked pretty good for them in the weeks that Devontae Freeman's been out. I'm just going to roll with New York in this one. Jay, I'll throw it to you first. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm going with the Giants too, and I don't think it'll be really close at all. I know the Giants aren't a great football team, but when you look at this Bengals team, what's their strength? Their strength is offense and playing through the passing game. But that was with Joe Burrow. He's out now, yet like you said, I hope he has a speedy and full recovery. I want to see him for a long time in this league. But yeah, I just think that the Giants have the defense to basically not let this Bengals team score more than twice this game. I mean, especially with the backup. And they held the Rams to 17. I keep talking about that game, but they held the Bucs to 25. They've had other great performances. But I don't know. I don't know what the Bengals can do here, really. Their strength has been throwing the ball. That's taken away from them. They might not even have one win right now if this was their roster for the whole season. So I got to go with the Giants here.
Trent, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the first and probably only time this year we all pick the Giants in a game, but I'm also rolling with the Giants. I think Brendan Allen probably throws two to three interceptions if he's in the game for that long. I think this Giants defense is legit. We've talked about them. I think they're going to eat their secondary is just going to eat them alive. The Bengals, Joe Mixon's out. Giovanni Bernard is and I don't think he can, like Jeff said, keep that team afloat. I think the Giants are. I mean, they're not a legit team, but they always have a chance in their division. So I'm going to go with the Giants here, and it may be a convincing victory, in all honesty.
Fair enough. We all roll with the New York Giants, as Trent said. Probably the only time that's going to happen this year, unless they play the Jets, which I don't think they do this year. But next up, we have the hometown game for all of us: the New England Patriots taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Both of these teams are coming off of disappointing losses in their last matchups. The Cardinals was to the Seahawks, and that was a game that, to both of your guys' credit, you picked the Seahawks in that one. I think that the Cardinals, they still had a chance to win at the end there, but Seattle's run defense and rushing, pass rush was surprisingly effective. They sacked Kyler Murray 3 times. That doesn't happen a lot this year, especially to Kyler Murray. And as a result, he's banged up heading into this matchup. DeAndre Hopkins is banged up. They're going to be without Larry Fitzgerald because he was placed on the COVID list. As for the Patriots, coming off a very disappointing loss to the Houston Texans, just were not able to contain Deshaun Watson all throughout the game, which is a task that a lot of teams are struggling to do right now. To New England's credit, it was hard. But as for the Patriots, they suffered the loss of Rex Burkhead, who will be out with a season-ending knee injury. They are getting Sony Michel back. He's going to be challenging Damian Harris directly for touches. James White's going to get more involved as the sole receiving back for this team. Trent, I'll throw this one to you first. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I've had a weird, I guess, mindset about this game. I think it should be an obvious pick for me to take the Cardinals. For that reason, I want to take the Patriots, but I don't trust the Patriots, so I've gone back to the Cardinals, and I'm going to go with the Cardinals to beat the Pats this week. I guess I think Kyler Murray is the better rushing quarterback is kind of what I had decided. I think that Kyler Murray can do more damage on the ground than Cam Newton will be able to this week. I know it's kind of a weird aspect of the game to choose or decide a game on, but I think it kind of comes down to quarterbacks here because the Pats have depleted wide receiver core. I mean, they've worked out the past couple of weeks, but I mean, Jacoby Myers isn't DeAndre Hopkins. Let's be honest here. He works in the offense, but he's just not the same type of player. I'm just gonna roll with the Cardinals. I mean, I'd be happy if the Pats won, and if the Cardinals lose, well, I guess I'm glad I picked them because I get the game right. So either way, it's kind of a win for me on this one.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an entertaining game. Jay, before I toss it to you, I'll just throw in my pick real quick. I'm taking the Pats in this one, and I am banking on the following to happen in order to do so. One, Trent, as you said, you think Kyler Murray is going to outrush Cam Newton. I think that shoulder injury is going to cause him to be a little bit more hesitant, maybe sit back in the pocket, be a little bit more resistant to jump out and run the ball. And I think that the key to stopping this Cardinals team, obviously, is shutting down DeAndre Hopkins. I think that Stephon Gilmore will have the best game of his season up to this date. I think he gets up for the big ones, the big matchups. This is probably the biggest of the season for him up to this point because Hopkins has played like the best receiver in the NFL. And then finally, I think that the Patriots, their defense has been bad this year, but as of late, the best part of it has been stopping the run. And they need to commit to stopping Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds out of the backfield. I think they'll be able to do so. All of those things happen. I think the Patriots have a good chance to win this game. I'm rolling with New England, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Cardinals beat them by 10-plus points. Jay, what about you?
Yeah, I continue to have no idea how good this Patriots team is or how bad they are. I'm admitting now that I've never had any idea, I guess, because I didn't think we were going to beat the Ravens. We beat them. I came on here last week and I was like, oh, man, this is like an easy win against the Texans after that game. We dropped that game, and we give Damian Harris 11 carries, was it, against, at the time, the worst running defense in the NFL in terms of yards allowed. So that was pretty embarrassing of a performance. I know Deshaun Watson is the man, obviously, but you still can't drop a game like that when you have so many hard games coming up on the schedule. The defense looked pretty bad. Yeah, it was brutal. So, this is our third running quarterback that we've played in a row. One time we won, one time we lost. We'll see what happens this game. I'm going to go with the Cardinals just because I trust that team more to pull out a win. And they're, frankly, the better team. But this team is so unpredictable that I really have no idea what's going to happen.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think all of us are expecting that to be a pretty competitive matchup regardless. Moving on to the next game, we have the Miami Dolphins taking on the New York Jets. Trent, you picked the Jets last week to get their first win of the season. They almost did it, barely lost to the Chargers 34-28. Now they're taking on a Dolphins team that will likely be without their de facto starter, Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, we know who's sitting on the bench. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick, who, in my humble opinion, was better than Tua was the last couple of weeks in the early parts of the season, although I'll give it to Tua. He's been running that offense pretty well. And when Fitzpatrick came in last week, he was not that effective. Jay, I'll throw this one to you first. Who are you taking in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm going with the Dolphins. I like the Dolphins. I like that team. I don't know how they lost to the Broncos last week. That was really disappointing. I know Fitz is going this week. He should be able to light up the Jets, just like every quarterback has been able to light up the Jets. And this should be a good bounce back game. It's a game that I wish Tua was playing in because it'd be great for his confidence, obviously. But hopefully the Dolphins defense will be able to contain the run better than they did last week, and it'll be a tune-up game for them, and they should look like the team they looked a couple weeks ago. And definitely, obviously, this is a must-win game for them, being a game back in the division. So I think this is one they should take to get back on track, and they've been a fun team to watch. Probably not going to watch too much of this game, obviously, but, happy Sam Darnold's getting back out there. Should be at least interesting, I guess, hopefully.
Yeah, all right, Trent, you've been a big fan of the Dolphins for this entire year. I'm interested to see if you pivot with Fitzmagic back under center.
Yeah, I love Fitzmagic, and I thought he should have never gotten benched. He's already faced the Jets defense this year. He's already beaten them. I think he threw 3 touchdowns against them. Pretty confident in the Dolphins this week. Was disappointed about last week. Honestly, it was the defense for me last week that seemed like they just disappeared. They've been one of the better defenses the past 4 or 5 weeks, the Dolphins defense, and then they just decided, let's not play defense against Drew Lock and Melvin Gordon. It was just a weird week for the Dolphins, in my opinion. I thought Fitzmagic was going to make the comeback there. And his just 1 quarter of play, he gained just as many yards as Tua did in the other 3. So I think Fitzmagic has no problem getting slotted back in at starter, even if it's just for a week. I think he'll do just fine against this Jets defense. I'm expecting a big game. And Myles Gaskin might be back this week. That's going to be big for this team moving forward. Even if he's not at full strength this week, he's just working his way back in. Once Tua has that as well, people have to respect the rushing attack of Gaskin and Tua. Tua can be mobile too when Tua's back. So this offense is just going to add another layer to it. Very excited moving forward.
Yeah, just to give a little credit to Salvin Ahmed. I know he's no Myles Gaskin, but he was serviceable in the games that Gaskin was on IR. Call me a sucker for the headlines, but I told myself I would take the Jets 1 week this year, and I'm rolling with them this week. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. I know that the Dolphins are a much better team. Trust me, I'm not trying to say that that's not the case, and that's not why the Jets are going to win this game. I just think that Frank Gore is going to absolutely tear apart this Miami run defense, which is the one weak point of that defense. Obviously, their secondary and linebacking core is just incredible. They've been great the last couple of weeks. Trent, I know you're upset with me taking the Jets in this one, especially because it's against the Dolphins, but you took the Jets last week. I'm taking New York this time. Because Trent and I have a mutual friend who bet on the Jets to go 0-16 this year. I just really want to see him not get that bet.
The Jets can't go 0-16, right?
Right. All right. I'll let you throw in your rebuttal.
My thing is you say you hop on the Dolphins bandwagon with me because I'm the conductor of the train here. You hopped on the caboose, and now you're gonna say they're gonna lose to the winless Jets. You're getting kicked off the train if that's the case.
That's fine. I don't need to be on the train anymore. All right. So both of you guys take the Dolphins. I take the O and whatever Jets this week. Moving on, we have a game that I think is going to be surprisingly entertaining. It's the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Atlanta Falcons. This Raiders team is much better than everyone was expecting this year. They have now beaten the Chiefs and given the Chiefs one hell of a fight in both of their matchups. Trent, you're up first in this one. Who you taking?
Yeah, this is an interesting game. I still think the Falcons' offense is pretty good. I mean, they didn't look good against the Saints, but the Saints have a legitimate defense, like top 5. They've been shutting down a lot of their opponents. And the Raiders are an interesting team because they always keep it close against these really these better teams. I mean, they've had those 2 games against the Chiefs. They've had a lot of close losses. I think they had a close loss maybe against the Bucs as well. I'm going to roll with the Raiders here just because I think they still have the mentality of maybe we can make the playoffs, whereas I don't think the Falcons have that. So I'm going to go with the Raiders. Hopefully Josh Jacobs has a big game. Derek Carr's looked pretty good this season. We'll roll with the Raiders.
You know, it's interesting because the Falcons have actually been pretty good statistically against the run this year. And I think that it's more so because every team is just throwing the ball against them 35 plus times a week and opting not to run the ball. And I think that Las Vegas now takes a different approach this week. And they're going to ride their workhorse. They really don't like to change the way they run that offense for anyone. Josh Jacobs is the focal point, and then they'll have the options to pivot to Darren Waller, who's basically a wide receiver 1, and Henry Ruggs, who is their speedster. Obviously, Hunter Renfrow and Bryan Edwards are solid complementary pieces as well. I'm taking the Raiders this week as well. The Falcons are going to be without Todd Gurley. Brian Hill has shown capable of sliding in and being a serviceable running back for them. I don't think he does anything special. Julio Jones, we all know, is questionable this week after being hampered by a hamstring injury yet again last week. I think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to be 100%, which is good for Calvin Ridley. Hayden Hurst, I don't think is going to play either. So that just takes a lot of options out of the passing game for Matt Ryan. I'm going to roll with Las Vegas this week. Jay, what about you?
I'm going with the Raiders too, and I think, man, the way this Falcons defense is set up, Nelson Aguilar could go for 200 yards this week. I mean, who knows what could happen? I don't think this game will be close. I think the Raiders are a far better team. Todd Gurley's out, which doesn't help them on the Falcons side. I just have a lot more faith in this Raiders team, obviously, for the same reasons all of you guys have said. I mean, I don't really know how much there is to discuss here when it comes to this game. But, of course, we know the Falcons are capable of putting up points through the air. That's how they can keep games close. I don't think that will happen this time, even against a vulnerable secondary in Las Vegas. I just think that the Raiders should be able to control the pace and the flow of this game with how they dictate on the offensive side. And they shouldn't let the Falcons into this game.
All right, all 3 of us take the Raiders in that matchup. Moving on to the next game, we have the Broncos, who, as we mentioned, surprised the Miami Dolphins last week, got a win, taking on the Taysom Hill-led New Orleans Saints. And Taysom Hill looked really good as the starting quarterback of that New Orleans squad last week against Atlanta. However, they will be without their entire left side of their offensive line due to injuries and COVID. So that's going to be a bit of a struggle for them. Jay, I'll throw this to you first. Who are you taking?
Yeah, even though the Broncos look pretty good against the Dolphins last week, I still don't know if I have enough confidence to take them here. Especially against probably right now, obviously the best team in the NFC, record-wise, and just the eye test so far. So, I'm going to go with the Saints here. They're just the far better team. Even with Taysom Hill, if Drew Brees was in the game, if Jameis was in the game, I'd take them all. So,
yeah, I'm going to take the Saints here really quick too. I think that the strength of this Broncos team is the dual-headed running back threat of Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. Luckily for them, they're facing a New Orleans team that over the last 3 games has allowed an average of 36 yards to opposing teams on the ground. So that is very terrifying if I am an opposing team coming in looking to run the ball against New Orleans. Trent, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Saints as well. I think they're actually better on the defensive side and possibly the offensive side of the ball. I like the Taysom Hill quarterback thing they got going on. I think it's interesting having a guy who doesn't care about his body and will run and not just slide. He will lower his shoulder and go for the first down. I think it's really cool to watch. They honestly have 3 options at running back for the Saints if you count Taysom Hill with Kamara and Latavius Murray. And Taysom Hill can throw the ball. He made that pretty aware last week. I think the Saints are legit both sides of the ball. I think the Broncos win last week was a fluke. Seems like a no-brainer for me. I'm going to go with the Saints.
Yeah, Trent, just to touch upon quickly there that the Saints can throw the ball, or Taysom Hill can throw the ball. He connected with Michael Thomas 9 times for 104 yards last week. Much better than any connection he's had with Drew Brees so far this year. So it's interesting to see.
Falcons.
Huh?
It's the Falcons, though.
Hey, doesn't matter. Taysom Hill connected with him 9 times. It's going to be interesting to see if they can do that again this week. All right, all 3 of us take the Saints there, unsurprisingly. Moving on, we have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the LA Rams, who, to my credit, I took them last week against the Bucs, and Jay was adamant that the Bucs were going to take that one. Unsurprisingly, he loves the Bucs. You love the Bucs.
I was not adamant. Go watch the tape. I was not adamant.
When was the last time you picked against the Bucs?
Never. I don't think I will.
But
I was not adamant.
And Trent on paper took the Bucs as well when he sent in the picks to us. But I'm sure that he thought this one was going to be closer because I know he loves him some Aaron Donald. Speaking of Trent, I believe you're up first on this one. If not, sorry, Jay. I'm going to give it to Trent. Who are you taking in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams here. The Niners are banged up. I mean, they might get Mostert back this week, but he's coming off a pretty extensive injury. Not too worried about that. The Rams' rush defense is also really strong. Rams, they're a legit team. I mean, after watching them last week, their offense was clicking pretty well together. It's pretty crazy game after game after game how many passes Jared Goff throws. I think he must average like 50 passes a game. I mean, all this dude does is throw. And he's got great wide receivers to catch the ball. I don't think Robert Woods had a drop last week. Him and Cooper Kupp both had over 10 catches. They connect well. The offense clicks. They don't really have a run game, but they really don't need that much of a run game, honestly. I mean, they have a bunch of options at running back, but they don't really have like a RB1 on their team. I like the Rams, 49ers, both sides of the ball, still pretty banged up. Getting over the Rams here.
Yeah, Trent. Touching on Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, they combined for 23 catches for 275 yards last week against the Buccaneers, who had been pretty stout against the pass heading into that matchup. And Jared Goff just said, I don't care. I'm still going to dominate you through the air. And they have that running back trio of Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown, and Cam Akers. And they've been underwhelming the last couple of weeks, but you can afford to be underwhelming on the ground when Jared Goff is playing like he is right now. I'm going to take the Rams in this one as well. I think that pretty much a no-brainer. They're just the better team on both sides of the football right now, healthier, etc. Give me Los Angeles. Jay, what about you?
I'm also going with the Rams here. I mean, I think you have to take them after their last performance, obviously, and they've been, that defensive performance might have elevated them up the rankings for some people, definitely, than they already were in terms of defense. This is a game that they dropped last time against the 49ers, albeit a much different team, clearly. The 49ers are very hurt, but the Rams can't afford to take Kyle Shanahan lightly here as they handed him a loss last time. I still think that they pull this win out. They're just the far better team and the healthier team right now. And I think Aaron Donald, he didn't get a sack last week. I think he'll definitely change that this week.
All right, all three of us take the Rams, unsurprisingly, for the second straight matchup. Moving on, we have likely the game of the week with Ravens Steelers in jeopardy. It is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Tampa Bay Bucks. Jay, I'll give it to you first, since this is your Bucs squad that you have vehemently defended throughout the entire year. Are you taking them this week against the defending Super Bowl champs? Big loyalty here right now.
I was planning on taking the Chiefs, and then three things happened. I'll tell you what the three things were. The Bucs lost to the Rams. The Chiefs beat the Raiders. Both things I had switched around. And then also I went 2-0 on Thursday night, or Thursday day.
But two of those things tell you should take the Chiefs.
Well, you're right. But I was planning on having the Bucs come off a win and the Chiefs come off a loss, and having that, having the Chiefs bounce back and then the Bucs drop one. Whereas in this case, I think it's the opposite. Obviously, the Chiefs are the better team. They're the best team in the NFL. I don't need to say that. But I don't think they're going 15-1. Okay, I don't think they're going 15-1. Maybe they lose one more here. The Chiefs don't have as strong of a defense as teams like the Rams or the Bears or the Saints, but they still have a really good defense. So this will be a game for the Bucs and all those weapons to prove themselves. Hopefully, Byron Leftwich can draw up a little something more interesting here than last week, and hopefully, obviously, Brady can make better decisions than he did last week. On the defensive side of things, man, Patrick Mahomes should definitely throw the ball over the top of this defense. The question is, can they bring pressure to him in time? And that's going to be key. I think, like a lot of football games, this one comes down to, can defenses get off the field on third down? Because that's what you have to do against great quarterbacks. So I think whoever gets the third down conversion, whoever wins that battle this week wins. I think last week the Chiefs had 36 first downs. The Bucs cannot give that up again. They were stretching out drives, keeping Derek Carr off the field. That's probably what they'll aim to do this week against the Bucs. So the Bucs are going to have to step up on defense here. They looked pretty good at times in the Rams game, but they're going to have to play a complete game today or Sunday in order to get a win. And I think the biggest reason why I'm taking the Bucs here is because I went 2-0 on Thursday, so I can afford to lose a pick if it goes wrong.
Yeah, because he's planning on going perfect for the rest of the way, so we can afford to drop one more. Trent, I'll throw this one to you next. Who you taking?
Yeah, I'm going against Jay again here. You mentioned that the Bucs have a solid defense, and that's just, I don't know if I'm on the same page with that after watching the Saints a couple of weeks back just dominate the Bucs defense, and I think that the Chiefs have a lot more weapons on the offensive side of the ball than the Saints do. I think this Chiefs offense is just going to be overwhelming for the Bucs defense. I think the Bucs are going to put up some points against the Chiefs defense, and I think that it will be an exciting game to watch. Brady wants this game. Don't get me wrong. Brady wants to beat Mahomes. Mahomes also really wants to beat Brady. But can it be just a great matchup of, honestly, great quarterbacks here? But I do think the Chiefs get the best of the Bucs. And honestly, it may end up being a game that's not pretty, in my opinion. I think the Chiefs may end up winning by 10 to 14 points here.
Yeah, Trent, I'm going to agree with you here. I think that the main statistic that really made me pick the Chiefs in this one is Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. From a fantasy perspective, they have each scored 24.9 plus PPR points in each of their last 3 matchups. And seeing Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp just absolutely destroy the Bucs defense through the air last week. I think that Tyreek Hill could easily go for 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce could easily go for a touchdown or 2. I don't see any way that this Bucs defense is able to stop them through the air. And the thing about Patrick Mahomes is, that offensive line gives him a ton of space to work. And if you give him a ton of space to work, he is going to beat you, period. You need to force him to throw under pressure, make him make mistakes, and you really just need to get lucky to beat the Chiefs. I think the Raiders had a chance last week because Demarcus Robinson was running bad routes the entire game, ran a bad route near the end zone, and resulted in a Raiders interception at the goal line that really gave Las Vegas a chance to go back and re-enter the game at that point. You need to hope that Patrick Mahomes makes a mistake or that there's a fumble. Something needs to go right your way to beat the Chiefs. Otherwise, if they play a perfect football game, no turnovers, you're not beating them. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. All right.
I've acknowledged the Bucs' defensive struggles, by the way.
Huh?
I've acknowledged the Bucs' defensive struggles. They have a lot of defensive struggles, especially in the second.
They have some offensive struggles too, but we won't get to that until after.
Oh, I know. But either way, if they drop this game, they have 4 wins right after. Don't count this team out.
I'm not going to count them out. I just don't think.
I know you aren't. I'm just speaking to the.
This isn't a Super Bowl contender that a lot of people think they are at this point, just based on that roster. All right, moving on. We have legendary matchup, Green Bay taking on the Chicago Bears. I think this one is at Lambeau. I'm not positive. Trent says yes, it is. I will throw this one to you first. Then, Trent, who are you taking?
This is the game I am almost positive I will pick wrong because I don't pick any Bears games well, and I'm pretty consistent at that. For me, this game, Packers blow them out. The truth of it is the Bears probably win because I think the Packers will blow them out. So I'm going to go with the Packers. I think when I bet on this game, I'm going to take the Bears and the points just because I'm going to get it wrong. I just have a feeling. I'm not good with the Bears, but I'll take Rodgers. I think that Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard are both going to – Lazard played last week, but he wasn't really healthy. He's actually going to be like full health this week playing, which will help. Aaron Jones will probably get shut down by this Bears defense. I think he'll have his struggles. So it's going to probably rely on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders here. Also, the Bears are starting Trubisky. That makes me feel a little bit better about picking the Packers because Mitchell Trubisky is worse than Jeff Pratt if they were both quarterbacks. That's my final statement to go with the Packers.
I mean, I don't mean to brag, but I was pretty good at flag football at QB. I was what they call a versatile weapon. I could play QB, wide receiver, cornerback. I was pretty valuable. Probably more valuable than Mr. Trubisky. But enough about myself. I'm going to take the Packers in this one too, Trent. You look at their record; they're 7-3. But this is a football team that is entering the territory of being a pretender. For me, they have not played well in 3 out of their last 4 games. They lost to the Vikings. They beat the 49ers handedly, as most teams are doing this year. Then they beat the Jaguars, but only by 4. And that was a game that Jacksonville had a chance to win. And then they lost to the Colts in overtime, obviously, last week. And that was just an ugly game for them. So this is a statement for them. This is a statement game for them. They need to win this one handedly. For me to consider throwing them back in the contender column right now, I am unsure. I do think they're going to get it done at Lambeau, so I'm rolling with Green Bay. Jay, what about you?
Yeah, I was too high on the Bears after they went 5-1. This quarterback change could shake some things up for them, no doubt about that. So we'll see how they look on offense this game. But their offenses look too terrible the last few weeks here for me to take this team against Aaron Rodgers. This was a game that I was originally planning on taking the Bears in just because of that defense. Not this week, but like 2 weeks ago, I was like thinking like, oh, maybe the Bears could take this game from Aaron. Now I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening unless Trubisky, revives that offense to at least like, what it was before they were embarrassing themselves on Monday Night Football. I don't know. The Packers defense is a good defense to, sort of for Trubisky to get his starting back job full time. But at the end of the day, I trust Aaron Rodgers more than I trust the Bears offense. And I think that he should be able to do enough against the Bears defense for them to pull out a win. But we'll see. This game could be really close. I don't blame you for having a bad record picking the Bears, Trent. They're really unpredictable because of how good their defense is and how bad their offense is. We don't know which side will show up and to what extent. So, and show up as in be really good or show up as in be really bad. So sometimes it's a shot in the dark, but I'm going to take the Packers because I know what team they are better than I do know what team the Bears are.
Yeah, I think that all three of us can say this game is an uncertainty, but one thing is for certain, and that is that the Chicago Bears will be looking for a new quarterback this offseason. Nick Foles and Mr. Trubisky are not it for them if they ever want to seriously contend. All right, moving on. We have the final two matchups of the week. First, we're going to start off with the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Good news for Seahawks fans, for Chris Carson owners. He is off the injury report heading into this matchup. Finally, after weeks of Pete Carroll downplaying his injury and him continuously missing games, he is back and ready to go, ready to man this Seahawks dynamic rushing attack, which they have, to their credit, gone away from this year and, quote, let Russ cook, as is becoming one of the most popular phrases this year. Jay, I'll throw this one to you first. Who are you taking?
I don't think there's anything to talk about. I'm taking the Seahawks. There's nothing to talk about. This Eagles team is not great on defense, and clearly I think Russell Wilson should be able to get back to his MVP performance here against this team. I think this is a blowout. I think it's an interesting game that was scheduled on Monday night because I don't really see any way the Eagles pull this off. Even with the Seahawks having a bad defense, I don't know. I think Russ has had some bad games recently, and I think that just does not happen here, and he just wins this game outright for them.
Yeah, fair enough. Trent, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Birds versus the Birds here. I'm going to go with the Birds as in the Seahawks. I think that Russell Wilson is still an MVP candidate. I think if the Seahawks lose this game, I'll have lost all faith in them because the Eagles have bad offense and defense. They're bad on both sides of the ball, like Jay said. I hope the Seahawks win this game for their sake, my sake, Russell Wilson's sake. I mean, everyone's sake here. The Seahawks should win this game.
Yeah, I will second what both of you guys said. I'm taking Seattle in this one, and I'm hoping that it won't be particularly close. All right, moving on to the final game of the week. This one is currently up in the air. It was scheduled to take place on Thanksgiving. I am obviously talking about the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the Ravens had their fair share of COVID issues, including Lamar Jackson going on COVID/IR list. I think J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram are still out for them. And then the Steelers had their fair share of cases, including James Conner go on the COVID/reserve list today. So we have no idea if this game is going to get played. If I had to bet, I would say no, but we're going to act like it is. Trent, I'll throw it to you first. Who are you taking?
I mean, it's a hard game to pick. I'm not sure if Lamar can even be eligible to play this game.
He's out this game.
He's 100% out. Then I guess for that reason alone, I'm going to go with the Steelers here. I mean, I'm not even sure I'd pick the Ravens, even if Lamar was healthy. I think James Conner being out will hurt the Steelers, but Benny Snell's a pretty solid backup, and he's gotten some touches this year. So I think that's an easier gap to fill than it is for Trace McSorley to start at quarterback for the Ravens.
RG3.
Is it RG3 actually over Trace?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Trace McSorley will not get to throw it on a dime this week.
All of DC will be rooting for the Ravens this week.
Yeah.
If it happens.
I'm going with the Steelers. This actually could just be this ain't gonna be pretty. Getting out with the Steelers, they're undefeated at this point. They've been playing well both sides of the ball, and I can't pick RG3 unless it was in 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. So I'm gonna go with the Steelers.
Yeah, I was going to take the Steelers regardless before all the COVID news came out. Now there's absolutely zero chance I'm picking against them. For me, the Ravens are pretenders. this year. They have consistently proven that they cannot win games coming from behind against good teams. And for me, this offense and Lamar hasn't been good enough to build up big enough leads this year. It's just that simple. Their defense is good. Lamar has not been playing up to the level he was at last year. The rushing attack hasn't been nearly as potent as it was last year, and I blame a lot of that on Coach Harbaugh and his resistance to give J.K. Dobbins the ball on a full-time basis, because he's been pretty darn efficient when he gets it. But yeah, this Ravens team just isn't that good for me this year. I think that if they're forced to play this game, they're going to be in jeopardy of missing the playoffs this year. And I'm going to roll with the Steelers. And this one, Jay, I'll throw it to you to finish it off.
Well, James Conner just got put on the reserve list.
Yeah.
And 4 more players from the Ravens just got – this game's not going to happen. But I would take the Steelers if it did, because I remember I took the Ravens against the Steelers the first time they played, and I basically based that on I think they're going to split this year. But now that I'm looking at it again, I think the Steelers might just sweep them, especially if this game gets played without Lamar. I mean, I don't think it'll be close if that happens. Even though I'll be rooting for the Ravens because of RG3, obviously, and if he won that game, that'd be awesome. But man, the Steelers catch a break here if this game gets played, even though they're going to be missing some people. So I guess it's not really that much of a break. I guess it's not a break for anyone. But what if we have an undefeated team that goes 15-0 instead of 16-0? Could that happen? I guess we'll find out.
Stay tuned next time to find out if the Steelers can go undefeated at 15-0. All right. That is a wrap on this episode of the Rollout. Great episode, guys. I think that this one flowed really smoothly, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these games get played out. For all of you out there watching, stay safe. Enjoy the games tomorrow. Go get your Christmas trees if you haven't already. It's about that time. And stay together with family and just enjoy some Sunday football. All right. For Jeff Pratt, Trent Henrich, and Jay Zimmer, this was the Rollout. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me, Jeff, and shout out Sarah Fuller real quick.
All right. Trent, have any shout outs?
Shout out my mom. She made me.
I'm going to shout out the dog real quick. All right. That's going to wrap things up for us. Everyone out there, have a good one. Stay safe.